Hi, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use the ordinary hyaluronic acid, niacinamide and alpha arbutin in one routine. And yes, you can use them in one routine, they have no conflicts with each other, and you can also use them in the morning and evening or only once per day, and then it's up to you if you want to use it in the morning or evening. Now those products can also be used on a daily basis, and so I'm going to share with you step by step how you can apply each product and also some tips and tricks along the way so that you also have the right application going on and you also will achieve great results with it. Now before we are going to move on with the hyaluronic acid, niacinamide and alpha arbutin, I want to start off with step number 1, which is really important, and this is also washing your face with a suitable cleanser. Make sure that the cleanser is also suitable for your skin type so that you also can remove any excess dirt, oil, makeup, sweat, so that you are starting off with a freshly washed face. Now I'm going to use the ordinary squalene cleanser, which is great for all skin types, and make sure to also read the directions on how you should use your cleanser. Sometimes a cleanser has to be applied on dry skin or on wet skin, and also the way you have to remove it. Now with this one, I'm going to apply it on my dry skin, massage it onto the skin and then rinse it with water. So, and after you have massaged it onto your skin, you can also now go ahead and either remove it with cotton pads if you have to remove it a dry way, or you can also now rinse it off with water. Now if you want to use a fresh cloth in between, which you're going to wet to also remove your cleanser, which is also a way that I prefer to do, then go ahead and do so. Just make sure that you're also getting everything off, that you can also properly wash your face. So now go ahead and take a towel and pat your skin dry. So, and now we are ready for the serum application. Now first of all, we have in total 3 water-based serums. Those are all water-based serums, which means that you can also apply them based on your priority of your concern. Now I'm going to go quickly through what each serum does. For example, the hyaluronic acid adds hydration to your skin and also plumps the skin. It's good for hydration if you need it, as well as it has anti-aging benefits to it because it's going to plump the skin. Then we have also niacinamide. Niacinamide can help you to minimize the pores as well as regulate the oil production and give you a little bit more of an evener skin tone, like overall an even skin tone. And then you have also alpha arbutin, which targets dark spots and hyperpigmentation issues. So now that we have broken it down what each serum does, it's also important that the ordinary recommends that you're not going to use no more than 3 serum formulations in one routine. So if you are going to use those 3 serums, just please also afterwards finish it off with a moisturizer if you need to, as well as sunscreen, to keep it as simple as possible so that your skin is also able to absorb everything and also work with the concern that you also want to target. Then there's also one important thing, like how do I apply them? In what order do you want to apply them? Well, this depends on what concern you want to target the most. For example, if you want to target hydration, which is your biggest concern, then you would start off with hyaluronic acid. If your second concern would be, well, I have a bit of an uneven skin tone, then go ahead and use niacinamide as your second serum. And then if you want to later on target a few dark spots, then go in with alpha arbutin. So this can change depending on your skin concern that you want to target the most is the one that you're also going to start off with. You can also start off with Alpha Arbutin or with Niacinamide as your first serum. So this is really important to know. So there's no right and wrong. This can be different for each one of you. And the way I'm going to apply it may not work for you. So this is what I wanted to point out, which is really important to understand. So now, the way you're going to apply them, what's also really important is that you're going to start off with less is more. Now, I'm going to start off with hyaluronic acid. So the way of application will be the same for all three of the serums. Now, hyaluronic acid, people always ask me, do I have to apply it on damp skin? Well, with the ordinary hyaluronic acid, it doesn't matter. You can apply it on damp skin if this is what you prefer, but it won't dry out your skin with the hyaluronic acid serum of the ordinary. If you want to know more about it and why you don't have to apply it on damp skin and then it's fine to also use it on dry skin, I can recommend you checking out the video in the top right corner, which is really important to also understand when using the serum. So I'm going ahead and starting off with the hyaluronic acid. Now, with each serum, I recommend using between 1 to 3 drops for the entire face and neck area. And since we're using 3 serums, it's also important that you're going to start off with less. Like less is more in this case, since we're going to layer the product so that it won't feel heavy afterwards and you also won't come across any issues. Now, I'm also going to show you now a little experiment, which I wanted to also mention for people that are a little bit concerned. Now, I'm going to show you on the back of my hand what I mean. I'm going to use 2 drops now on the back of my hand with hyaluronic acid. The way you're going to apply it onto your skin can be rubbing if you prefer to, or patting it into the skin, which also makes it different if you're coming across this issue or not. So if you're going to pat it into the skin, nothing will happen. You're just going to gently pat it all over your skin and that's fine. If you're going to rub it into the skin, you can come across the foaming. And people are always worried that if they see that the serum from the ordinary foams, they think it's fake or it has already gone bad or that there's something wrong with the product. I can tell you, the foaming is normal with all of the water-based serums. Alpha Arbutin and Niacinamide does it too. If you're going to rub it into the skin and you notice the foaming, don't worry, this is normal. It's just because you're rubbing it into the skin, air comes between it, and this also gives you that little foam. So this is really important to understand. And so this is also why I recommend using less. In this case, first of all, that it can fully soak into the skin, that you're able to blend it into the skin and won't come across further issues, which I want to get into with the next serum. So with hyaluronic acid and the other serums, I recommend using 1 to 3 drops for the entire face and neck area. And for me personally, I'm going to stick with 2 as this is also enough for me. So, now there's also maybe another question, like how do I apply it on my face? Well, personally, I like to use a few drops in the palm of my hand, rub them together and pat it on my skin all over. Some people also prefer to use 2 drops or 3 drops on the tip of their fingers, then rub it together and gently use it all over the face and neck area. And other people prefer to directly use the pipette and use a few drops all over and then blend it into the skin. There's no right or wrong when it comes to the application. Just make sure that you're also able to apply the product all over your face and that it's not too much. And then again, you can either rub it into the skin or start patting it into the skin, depending on what you prefer and if you want to avoid the foaming effect or not, which is not wrong, but I just prefer it like patting it onto the skin rather than rubbing it into the skin. Make sure that it's able to fully soak into the skin. If you still feel a strange layer on top of your skin, then you probably use too much. It shouldn't feel sticky. It kind of should feel dry so that it's able to soak into the skin, that you have no layer on top of it. So now that we have applied the first serum, we now can move on to the next one, which either can be Alpha Arbutin, Niacinamide, hyaluronic acid. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to use also niacinamide now as my second water-based serum. Now I'm going to show you now a different application method. Again, I'm going to use 2 drops. If you want to use more, like 3 drops, that's fine, or less, that's also fine. So now I'm going to use the drops also on the top of, like basically the tip of my fingers, like this. Then gently use it between my fingers and then start patting it onto the skin. That's fine too. There's nothing wrong with it. Make sure to also cover every area, that you feel it all over your face, and that it's also able to soak into the skin. Now, the main reason why I recommend, especially now with 3 water-based serums, to also pat it into the skin and not using too much is because then you can also avoid a common problem which may happen mainly with water-based serums and also sometimes the suspensions. And this is, if you are now, for example, rubbing it into the skin and you have already one water-based serum on top of your skin and you're going to apply the next one and you're rubbing it onto the skin, you can come across an issue that's called pilling. Now the pilling, first of all, may happen when you're rubbing it into the skin and the first serum hasn't really fully soaked into the skin, so it has some leftovers on top of the skin, and then you're going to rub it off. And it looks like your skin is going to flake off, but it's not your skin, it's like the previous serum that you have applied. So to make sure that you can also avoid this issue is by using less, but also by basically patting it on top of your skin instead of rubbing it. If you want to know more about it, I also can link you a video in the top right corner so that you also can see what I mean, especially with niacinamide, alpha arbutin, hyaluronic acid and the other water-based serums. So now that I have applied niacinamide all over my face, we now can move on to the last water-based serum, which is also alpha arbutin. And for some of you, this could also be your first water-based serum. That's totally fine. Now with alpha arbutin, it's also important to know that you don't have to use it all over your face. You can also just use it for spot treatment. Like, not everyone has the same hyperpigmentation going on all over their face. You may have it mainly on your cheeks or only on your forehead. So this is also where you can be very specific. For me currently, for example, I'm using alpha arbutin to treat those 2 spots right here, which a video of it will come soon. But I'm going to treat them with alpha arbutin. So I can be very specific with alpha arbutin. I don't have to use it all over the face. So I wanted to show you now both methods. I'm going to use it for the spot treatment. And I'm going to use 1 drop. And then I'm going to keep it specific on this area. And that's fine. You don't have to use it all over your face and neck area. You just also can use it on a specific area. And then just leave it there and let it soak into the skin. Now, of course, you can also do the same spot treatment with the other 2 water-based serums, but it's mostly also common when you really want to target hyperpigmentation, since not everyone has like a hyperpigmentation going on all over the face. Some people do, that's totally fine, and use it all over your face. But I guess most of you will only have a specific area. So this is also where you can use alpha arbutin to also spot treat, as well as niacinamide and hyaluronic acid. That's fine. Now I also want to show you now the next method on how you can apply the serum with alpha arbutin, where I'm going to use it all over my face so that you can see this one as well. So some people prefer to also use a bit that's on in the pipette and then just use 1 to 3 drops over their face and then pat it into the skin. That's totally fine. So just go ahead, use it on one cheek and on the other cheek. If you want to use 3 drops, you can also use it on your forehead or chin. Whatever you prefer. I like to go with 2 drops as I know that this is enough for me. And then start patting it into the skin. And I just want to come a little bit closer so that you can see that I have no pilling going on. I have no issues by layering those 3 water-based serums. And this is mainly because I like to be careful with how much I use as well as also how I'm going to apply it on the skin. If rubbing works for you, you want to use the 3 water-based serums and you use the rubbing motions, that's totally fine, go for it if that works for you. But if you're coming across the foaming effect and also the pilling, then it might also be because you're rubbing it into the skin or you probably use too much product. So please keep this in mind, experiment and see what works the best. Some people like to use a few drops more, that's totally fine, others prefer to use less. Just find the right balance, because you are able to also achieve a great result with it where you are not coming across this issue. But every skin type is different, so you have to find the balance. So after you have applied those 3 different serums, I also want to mention that if you now want to use a moisturizer depending on your skin, you can do so. Now would be the time to also follow it up with a moisturizer. If you have a really oily skin, using a moisturizer is not necessary, or if you want to use an oil now afterwards, okay, but a moisturizer will be also now your last step. Of course, depending also on when you're going to use it, if you're using it in the morning, I also recommend finish it off with a sunscreen, since Alpha Arbutin can make your skin sensitive to the sun. So it's really important to also protect it, especially if you have hyperpigmentation issues, so that you can reduce them, but also make sure that no more hyperpigmentation spots will come, since they can also be caused because of the sun. So make sure that if you're using this specific routine in your morning routine, that you're also going to follow it up with a sunscreen. So I'm going to skip the moisturizer as my skin feels great, and I'm just going to move on to the sunscreen. Now make sure that you're always going to use a sunscreen wherever your skin is being exposed to the sun. Currently I'm just going to focus on my face and also neck area, as well as also right here, wherever my skin is being currently exposed. And then gently apply it all over your face and neck area. Don't forget your ears. I'm currently having this one on. So if you have your ears exposed, don't forget your ears, as well as the back right here. So, and after you have applied the sunscreen, this is basically your last step in your skincare routine. Now I want to mention that if you're using those 3 products in your evening routine, you don't have to use a sunscreen, but you can of course just finish it off with the moisturizer, and that's basically it. And of course, I just wanted to remind you that with every water-based serum, with the 3 that I just showed you, let them soak into the skin and also leave them on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. I really want to emphasize it, that it's not like a mask that you have to rinse off after several minutes. You're going to leave it on the skin. Just finish off with your moisturizer, maybe sunscreen, and that's it. Now I also do hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up as well as share it, and I will see you soon in the next one. Bye!